At their wedding, the groom told the bride that he wasn't sure if he wanted to marry her and was uncertain about their future together. My childhood friend was getting married today to her high school sweetheart. The wedding was a long time coming. They've been together for 6.5 years and share a 2-year-old son together. They've been engaged for 3 years now because they delayed planning the wedding after she unexpectedly got pregnant with their son. So now the wedding was finally here earlier this year. She set a date and started planning. I was engaged myself this year and got married in July, and originally was just supposed to be a regular bridesmaid. The bride's sister was supposed to be the mo, but they had a falling out. Basically, the bride would always call her sister ranting about her fiancé every time they would fight, which caused the sister to form a pretty negative opinion of him. Sister lives across several states away and doesn't see everything that goes on here. Her mind jumped right to abuse, and she told the bride if she marries him, she's not coming to the wedding. Now here's the thing. Their relationship isn't perfect. They are young. They went through a lot very quickly, and very young, getting engaged, unexpected pregnancy, moving in together, all happened very fast. They fought a lot. I had my concerns at first. But after spending a lot more time with them, I saw how much they genuinely loved each other, parented their son together well, and were working towards a future together. The bride and I have been close friends for so much of our lives. She is like family to me. I care for her deeply. When she asked me to step in as Mo, I said yes for those reasons. Cut to today, the wedding day. Everything was going well. Groom was getting emotional when they did their private vows, and before walking down the aisle he was still wiping tears. It warmed my heart. Looking back now, I wonder what the heck was going through his head. Not sure they were tears of joy. As the night went on, the bride mingled and danced with her family. She had so much family that traveled from many states away to be here, and she wanted to be a good hostess to them. The groom was usually off talking with his own family when she was doing this, but for the most part they stayed together. They sat together, ate together, danced to a few songs, played the shoe game, then they were mingling separately with their families. Didn't think that was a big deal, as this is often how receptions go with so many people there pulling you in opposite directions. At one point they both went inside the venue. Reception was outside for a while, and then she came out alone. She continued to chat with family, and then after a little bit realized he was nowhere to be found. After a while of searching, we found him wandering around outside going for a walk. Bride was pretty distraught at this point. I will add that the groom did have a good amount to drink during the party. Apparently when they went inside the venue, he was angry at her for not spending enough time with him during the party, and said they were hardly together the whole night. Once he got back from his little walk, they were just arguing inside their room, I guess. At this point a lot of guests were leaving, and the ones left, me, my husband, the rest of the wedding party, and their immediate families didn't really know what to do. We were supposed to do a big send-off for them, so we were just kind of waiting for that. We packed up all the stuff, broke down all the tables and chairs, loaded it in cars, and just waited. Me and the other bridesmaids pulled her aside to talk to her. But she was pretty deflated at this point. Apparently the groom had taken his ring off and told her he wasn't sure he wanted to be married to her. At their wedding. Mind you, they've been living together for 3 years. They share a child. They've been dating since 2018. Nothing about this was rushed other than maybe their ages. They are quite young. But I never thought of them as immature until this stunt he pulled at their wedding. Over not spending enough time together at the reception. Like, sorry, why not just not leave her side then? I just don't understand at all. We finally decided to just load their stuff in their car and tell them it's all loaded and they should probably go ahead and go to get some sleep before their flight tomorrow. At the car we hugged goodbye and I left to come home. This girl is one of my absolute best friends. I hate that her beautiful wedding was ruined by her husband being petty and stubborn. She was in tears and distraught on her own wedding day. It's just awful. I don't really know where to go from here, if this is at all normal and something they will get past, or if this is more serious. I genuinely am rooting for them, but this whole situation just has me sitting in my car feeling confused and worried for my friend. They're leaving for their honeymoon tomorrow. Don't feel like it's an appropriate time to reach out and try to talk to her about all of this. Any advice is appreciated, I guess. I'm thinking I check in via text a few times while they're traveling on the honeymoon and make sure it's going okay, and make plans to see her when she gets back, and we can debrief everything then if she wants to get into it. Comments. Comment 1. How the main takeaway is don't drink too much at your wedding. People get wasted on their wedding day and don't take their ring off and say they shouldn't be married. I would say that's far more frequent than whatever this is. Comment 2. Oop, really bending over backwards to try to gaslight Reddit into thinking this isn't a fucked up relationship that will crash and burn within the next 3 years max. Girl. The bride and the groom shouldn't have gotten married if they don't even like each other that much. She keeps bitching about him to her family. And then apparently ignored him the whole fucking time during their wedding. He seems incapable of expressing his feelings about her. And probably feels obligated to marry her because they have a kid together. They should have taken things slow and figured out co-parenting first or something. Also, I would bet that this is all small-town drama and Oop is similarly engaged to her first ever boyfriend who she met in first grade or something. Update. It's been a week now, and a lot of people asked for an update. Some people on my original post were very adamant this relationship was abusive, citing red flags, research evidence, and personal anecdotes that this story reminded you of. There were also several comments saying I was overreacting. The groom was just drunk, and they will probably be fine. I wanted to clarify some things from my original post. While my friend the bride does have her sister, she was the only child growing up in her house. In many ways she truly is an only child. She is at least the only child of her mother. She already had a small circle, her family lives all over the country, and is not involved very much in her life that was not the groom's doing. He did not isolate her. Secondly, I would like to clarify their ages because I didn't mention them in my last post. They started dating at 15F and 16M, and got married at 21 and 22. Part of the reason I omitted it originally is because I didn't want people jumping to conclusions about their relationship. Because of their ages, there is a lot of stigma around getting married young, especially on Reddit. And I get it. The odds are stacked against you. That's why I decided to put their ages in now, because I realize it's important to understand they really do have so much growing and learning to do still. Now onto the update. It's pretty short. She Snapchatted me later that night after they got to their hotel and said as he began to sober up, he was realizing all that he ruined, and was very apologetic. He realized they didn't get to do their last dance, their send-off, the bouquet and garter toss. She said he was crying. They talked it all out as she said it sucks that their wedding ended that way. But it was amazing up to that point. And the important thing is that they're married and going to spend the rest of their lives together. She said they're going to work past it. And I asked how. Do you have a plan? Just want to be sure. She said they will work on their communication skills and I once again recommended therapy. She said they'd talk about it and consider it. Then they were off on their honeymoon, and seemed to be having a great time. I've checked in a bit when she has Snapchatted me some pics and they're doing well. She knows she can always come to me, and she knows I'll support her no matter what. Right now I'm going to do everything I can to help uplift them as a couple and help them form some better communication habits. Her sister didn't support her choice to stay with him. And that's why sister is not in her life anymore. I don't want that. I will support her choice. Period. Now, for the next story. My husband has developed feelings for another woman and expressed a desire to explore polyamory. My husband fell sick and had to stay home for a while. He decided to pick up an online game and started having weekly sessions with a group of players. Among them is a girl 30, I think, and long story short, he fell in love with her. He broke down crying a month ago and admitted it. He told me it built up so gradually he didn't understand how he felt until it was too late. They started texting privately after meeting and eventually had one-on-one calls together. Then at some point he said, she told him she was in love with him and he realized it was mutual. He said he told her it was impossible but loved her too. They tried to be just friends but they couldn't resist. And continued to show affection for each other. He showed me the texts, but also venture into sexting. She asked if she could meet him face to face but he refused. So he told me all of this, apologized over and over again, and told me he couldn't control himself and while he loved us both, it was me he would choose no matter what. I was still very upset and slept at a friend's that night to gather my thoughts. I decided to forgive him because he clearly felt guilt and wanted to work it out. I told him that while I was deeply hurt, I still appreciated him coming forward to me and being honest about what happened. We got into long conversations about how we were feeling in our relationship. I accepted he could love someone else but said I didn't like how he handled it. He agreed. And then yesterday he asked if I was comfortable opening up the marriage to polyamory. He said he still wanted to live with me and have kids but can't erase nor ignore the feelings he has for her. He says he wants to do it right and let us both see other people, with clear boundaries and communication, and still be present for one another. I'm going to be honest, it made me very uncomfortable at first. We have several friends who are poly. I know more or less how it works. But I never really thought about getting into it myself. I am not against. It just never crossed my mind before. I am trying to think it through, but it's a lot to take in. Comments. Comment 1. I had an ex that did this exact thing. The ex told me I was bipolar and he recognized the signs because his mom and friend's brother had it. And he also told me all my friends were wrong and I needed to stop talking to them because they didn't want us to succeed in our relationship. I was 18 and really didn't understand it was abusive. I always thought abuse was physical. So many triggers. Stay strong, oop. The weight lifted off is like the biggest breath of fresh air you'll breathe. Comment 2. The further updates make me wonder whether their poly friends actually suggested that the husband bring up polyamory with her, or if that was just a ploy to break her relationship with them. None of the poly people I know would respond to an emotional affair by saying, "Why don't you fix your cheating by opening your relationship?" Update 1. I told him his actions hurt me deeply, and that while I appreciated him admitting his affair, it was still infidelity. I told him what you guys said, that turning it into polyamory was merely greenlighting the affair after the fact. That polyamory should be built on mutual trust and communication, which he already broke. That I didn't feel respected. It destroyed him. He said he already knew deep down but didn't want to admit it, neither to me nor to himself. We both screamed and cried a lot. He finally admitted he wanted to open the marriage for selfish reasons. He is very sorry. He cut off contact with the other girl, let me fully access his computer and phone, and now wants to go to counseling to repair our relationship and marriage. He is showing me a lot of affection and attention since then, although he admits himself it's sometimes out of guilt, and not just out of pure love. And now I want to make it work too, but am I? Or is it sunk cost fallacy? I don't know. Our first session is in 2 months, the earliest we could get, and every day I change my mind. Literally yesterday I wanted to leave him, while today I think it's worth giving it a try. Because we've known each other for so long, we understand each other on a very deep level, share a lot of interests, and have already built so much together. He was there for me during hard parts of my life. He took responsibility for his actions and is really trying. Plus, if I leave him, I'd have to start my life nearly from scratch, find a new place to live, go back into dating for the first time in 12 years. I don't want to lose everything. It sounds very hard and scary. Am I not too old for this? But at the same time, that's a form of denial, isn't it? It doesn't matter if those years were good, it's not going to be the same. Even if he gains my trust back, even if I forgive him, I'll never forget. I think he is genuinely remorseful, but isn't it too late for that? I am too empathetic. Him being present now doesn't erase what was done. Do I want to stay, not because I still believe in this relationship, but because don't have the strength to ask for a divorce? Because it's the easy choice, some kind of codependency? I have no idea. I can picture both paths clearly, and it's tearing me apart. I am lost, maybe even more than I was when I wrote my previous post. I've lost sleep and appetite, and I'm not sure I enjoy anything in my life anymore. I booked an appointment with a psychologist, for me alone, to help with this whole thing. I am sorry at this point, I am rambling. I know I am the only one who can decide what's okay and comfortable for me or not. It's ultimately my choice and my choice and my choice only. The emotional hell I am going through just makes thinking about that choice very hard and paralyzing. I'll go to both therapies and try to see what to do from here. I'll try to update, but it's probably going to take a while. I am sorry. I want to thank you again for your support, and I am sending you guys a lot of love. Edit a couple of infos I should have mentioned but didn't, because putting all of that into writing without omitting something is much harder than I thought. He cut off contact with her, because once he told him he was married and wanted us both, she just ran away and broke up with him. There are times since then where my husband starts feeling sad or angry, because of what's basically withdrawal. And for that he's smart, at least sensible enough not to blame me. What kind of marriage did we had before this crisis? It will sound so naive. It's my first and only romantic relationship. We were very close and basically grew as adults together. We could talk about anything and understand each other. We shared the same values and interests. What changed, I think, is that we got into a routine and he got bored. During our argument he said he was addicted to the attention the girl was giving him, and that he felt I didn't show him I was in love with him enough anymore. I told him that even if it was true, he should have told me instead of having an affair. On one hand I have my faults too, and I could accept this as one of them. On the other, I was taking care of him in the house while he was sick. I don't think he believes it. I don't think he means it. But it makes me wonder whether I was actually a good wife for him, even though I am not responsible for his actions. Update 2. He begged me to try to reconcile with him, to which I agreed while I was actually trying to prepare my exit. We both went to individual therapy, still am. We separated temporarily 3 times, but every time I came back, it went terribly. He was desperate. He kept trying to cross my boundaries, love bombing me, playing the victim, asking to touch me even though I established I didn't want to, threatening to kill himself if we were to divorce. I could go on and on. This made me finally realize, along with my therapist's help, a lot of self-reflection in my exchanges on Reddit, that I was in an abusive relationship. Which is an important part, actually the most important part of this update. Please look up definitions and examples of abuse. Because I had no idea that what my husband had been doing all these years, even before the affair, counted as such. In his case, it was psychological abuse, manipulation, gaslighting, guilt-tripping, blame-shifting, emotional blackmail, nothing aggressive or mean. Which turned me into a very submissive partner over the years, always catering to his needs while erasing mine. I rationalized everything. It happened subtly and gradually, and I was too naive to see it for what it was. His emotional affair and open marriage proposal were the natural continuity of that. Of course, the more I tried to get away from him, the more manipulative he got. Now that I was aware of it, I knew what he was doing, but fighting years of conditioning, even if you recognize it and succeed, is exhausting and disarming. So earlier today I brought a friend home to assist me. We sat down, the three of us, and I told my husband we were over and I handed him the papers. It might sound dumb, but it's genuinely one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life. I was terrified. Yet he agreed. He repeatedly asked me if I was sure. He reminded me of the family we were planning to have and of our best memories together. Was it all for nothing? Apparently yes, he was heartbroken. Clearly mad and frustrated. But still, he agreed. He signed them and went back to his parents for now. We still have to go through the whole procedure, separate our assets, decide what to do with the house and all. And he still wants us to go to marriage counseling. But right now, I feel free. For the first time in months. The last hours have been a mix of tears, celebration and godly, restful sleep. And I have to thank you guys again. Because my first Reddit post was the wake-up call I needed to eventually, finally get here. Better late than never. Thank you so much. Update 3. After my soon-to-be ex-husband signed the divorce papers, we went no contact, or at least I tried to. He still sent me text messages, voice messages, and tried to call me multiple times. He even sent me a long letter full of statements such as, "I'm concerned that your mental health is deteriorating. I believe you need antidepressants to help you feel like yourself again." Or, "Your trauma is understandable, but it probably makes you want to punish me by making irrational decisions, like divorce." Or, "I am afraid you are surrounding yourself with questionable influences that have bad agendas. Please let me help you see it through." He claimed that the crisis was just as hard for him as it was for me. People told me he was escalating and that I should protect myself. I should have listened immediately, but I didn't react soon enough. Then he came to our street. He arrived uninvited and pleaded with me to give him a second chance. He said he wanted to be there for me and for us, insisting that he didn't deserve any of this. I started to feel distressed. He saw that I was unwell and wanted to comfort me, so he hugged me. But I didn't want to be touched. I'm pretty sure I told him no. I think I screamed no multiple times, but my memory is fuzzy. Either I misremember, or I did say no and he ignored it and didn't stop. I know it's just a hug, but it triggered a severe panic attack. He called emergency services, telling them he was worried about me because I wasn't myself. I had to ask the paramedics to make him leave. After that, he told me he was there for me if I needed him, but he thought we needed space. He contacted half our social circle to inform them that I was unwell and needed support, our mutual friends, my colleagues, our neighbors, my physician. People reached out of the blue to ask if I was okay. I became paranoid, unsure of who to trust anymore. Close friends, my therapist, and people here helped me see things more clearly. My lawyer filed a restraining order against him, but unfortunately it was refused. Not enough concrete evidence of a threat. Apparently I want to scream. We submitted a second request, which is currently being reviewed. In the meantime, I've moved into an apartment of my own. He doesn't know where I live. Hell, almost nobody does. I constantly wonder how he reacted when he found out. I'm still paying my half of the mortgage, because nothing has been decided regarding our house yet. It's financially very hard for me, but I do feel safer. I am feeling much better, although I remain haunted by constant stress, sleep disorders, nightmares, nervous tics, random bursts of tears, and rushes of anxiety. My physician prescribed me sedatives. They do make it easier. I realize I'm isolating myself more and more. I try to fight it, but I'm really afraid that sensitive information could leak, even accidentally. I've started reaching out to my closest friends again, as much as I can. I am trying to come back here on Reddit. I keep going to therapy, it's necessary. Because one part of me, the part he cultivated for so long, urges me to stop all of this, to go back to the house, cancel the restraining order, cancel the divorce, call him, apologize, and repair our relationship. It would be insane. I am not going to do that. I do not listen to that little voice. I don't. But when your defenses are attacked over and over again, it becomes incredibly hard to reason properly. I can't wait for the divorce to be over. I just want to move on. I want all of this to be behind me. I'm sorry this is bleak. I wish I would have left sooner. I just hope this can help someone, anyone.